I believe immigration is going to become the key issue now in 2010. I mean, certainly the economy is the biggest issue. And the fact that the jobs never came back and that the economy, the economic recovery, so to speak, is built on a house of cards. I mean, you want me to talk about debt? Forget credit default swaps. Do you want to really talk about debt? Do you want to really talk about the frightening position the U.S. dollar is in and the fact that we have no foundation for our currency and that we're living on borrowed time and borrowed money and that there's only a false recovery based upon money that is being printed by the administration in order to make you think that there's been a recovery? We can go into that, too, if you'd like. I mean, you know, economics are what this is all about. In fact, immigration is all about economics. If it wasn't about economics, you wouldn't have such powerful interests as Wall Street and the Wall Street Journal supporting illegal immigration. You don't know that, do you? The Wall Street Journal, which you would think would be against illegal immigration, has long been in favor of illegal immigration. They are under the mistaken notion that illegal immigrants are of a direct benefit to the country itself. Well, when you look around, you say, well, who would take these jobs? And that's a good argument. It's a good question to raise. Who would take the jobs? You see who does the hard labor. The American people have become lazy. They don't want to work. The reason they become lazy is because of the welfare state. Who do you think took these jobs before? Let us go back in time to post-Great Depression. Who was it who Steinbeck wrote about in The Grapes of Wrath? Was it people from Mexico? Was it people from Africa? It was about white people from Oklahoma who got, after the Dust Bowl, meaning these tornadoes that hit the Oklahoma farms, and the topsoil was swept away, the white farmers who had nothing left because there was no government support, they got in their rickety trucks, they packed the mattresses and the beds and the chickens and the kids, and they went to California, and the only jobs they could find were menial jobs, and they became grape pickers in the Central Valley. Horrible, backbreaking work. And I know some of you listening to this show are descended from hardworking people who lived through the Great Depression, who did these horrible jobs. My point, though, is that the jobs were taken by the poor whites because those were the only jobs available. Now, when you then have a burgeoning welfare state that's around, that developed its real engines of power during Lyndon Baines Johnson's so-called Great Society, which was really communist light, the great welfare state that we have now is the reason that illegal aliens are being ushered into America and have been for the last 20 years. It's because the poorest people in America who normally would do these jobs are living on the government dole. You take away the government dole, and then you will find that the people will have to work. And tell me what jobs they are equipped for. There are only a few jobs that they can do. Those are the jobs in the meatpacking plants and on the farms and in the hotels, etc., that they will have to take if they want to feed themselves. Is this unheard of? It's common sense. A good leader would do this stage by stage. He would cut back on welfare a certain percent a year until it dried up altogether. He would do these things gradually until we restored the nation. It is not too late for a doctor to come in and save this country. Unfortunately, looking around the landscape, I do not see any oncologist who can save the patient called America. I shall return.
Savage.
So the illegitimate leftist media is screaming, furor grows over Arizona's illegal immigration law. An attorney general may challenge the immigration law. This is unbelievably long overdue. Let him challenge it is all I can say. I want to go back to the impact of illegal immigration on our teenagers. If you look back upon your life, and I'm a little older than many of the listeners, I had menial jobs as a teenager. I was a busboy. I was I don't know how many. I worked at an ice cream factory. I could never get those jobs today if I were a kid. Who is it who used to wash cars and wash boats in this country? Teenagers. Who is it who used to work at county fairs? Teenagers. Do you realize that the illegal immigrants have taken up every job that teenagers used to take, thereby weakening or destroying the work ethic in this country? I don't blame the illegal immigrants. It's a national problem that has not been solved. That the illegal immigrants want the work and the employers want the labor. The kids don't know how to work and won't work. They won't wash a car. They won't wash a boat. They'd rather stay home and smoke marijuana. et cetera. They don't know how to work. They go to college. They come out. They can't add, read, or write, and yet they want to run the company. You know the problems. We've all hired kids who just come out of college. They're virtually incapable of doing anything. We know that. Why is that? How come by the time I got out of college I could do certain things? The answer is because I worked from the time I was 5 years old in one job or another. I held menial jobs. I told you I worked in factories. Look it up. It's real. Busboy, waiter, lifeguard, you name it, I did it. Gas stations. I don't even remember the jobs. 11 years old, I remember I lost in a card game. I was afraid to go home. I thought my father would yell at me. What did I lose, $20, $18? I don't know what, $9? I took a job washing dishes in a local luncheonette up on Queens on Union Turnpike in 100. I forget the street in Queens. My father called the police. He didn't know where I was. I didn't call home. I wanted to come home with the money and tell him I lost the money and took a job, and I wanted to show him that I was able to take care of myself. He was proud of me. He didn't get mad at me. The fact is, we took these jobs because they were available to us. The country was not swimming with non-citizens who are desperate for work and took the work instead of us. So teenagers took jobs that were available in candy stores or wherever they may be. And so what I'm saying to you is take a look at the effects. I don't think anyone's covered this in any great detail. It's an interesting topic for a sociologist to cover if he's a balanced sociologist. I don't know how many of them are left. But the impact of illegal immigration on America's teens' working habits or work ethic per se is a hell of a topic for somebody to write for a master's thesis. Unfortunately, you'll never get it approved at your socialist university. The only thing you could write that on would be to show how illegal immigrants helped your child become a drug addict. Then if you could show that in a positive manner, that it moved more children to discover the inner drug addict in themselves, I'm sure it would get approved by your thesis committee, but the other one wouldn't. Well, that's it for this subject. I don't want to beat this up. It's going to get bigger by the day, by the way. It's going to get bigger because we have a man who's not the leader of the country leading the country. We have a man who could have stopped this if he really wanted to stop it. All he had to do was act like a leader and come out from behind his lectern and his teleprompters and say, well, I don't agree with the law that was passed in Arizona. I understand the frustration of the citizens of the state. They are a sovereign state. There are states' rights in the country. And although I disagree with the law, I'm sure that the police are going to do a fine job, and they're being trained to do a fine job. There's absolutely not racism involved. And we're going to do a much better job as a federal government in controlling the flood of drugs and illegal aliens into Arizona. But he didn't do that. Instead, he came out like the demagogue he is, like the inexperienced demagogue, community activist that he is, like the Marxist-Leninist internationalist that he is, and right away he threatened to sue the state of Arizona for passing their own laws. So that's the kind of situation that we have, and we'll have to watch it play itself out. I believe at the end of the day it's going to be good for the American people to finally have a national discussion on this, the most important of all issues. It ties into everything else in your life. Illegal immigration impacts the economy. Illegal immigration impacts the hospitals and health care. Illegal immigration impacts the prison population and the crime in this country, as you well know. Whatever you touch in this country, it's related to illegal immigration in one way or another. And yet it's a topic that has not been discussed. It was banned from the last debate. In fact, the last presidential debate between McCain and Obama, if I remember correctly, immigration did not come up. Why? Because the baggy-eyed Bolshevik who ran it, the left-wingers in the media who were given the power to determine what the American people could hear or not hear, chose not to use the I word, so immigration was not even discussed. Well, it's too bad right now because the horse is out of the barn. That's all America's talking about. Are you for or against the law in Arizona? And the more people talk about it, the more they're going to find out that most Americans say enough is enough. There are too many illegals. They're too brazen. They account for too much of the crime. They have decimated our schools and hospitals. There are too many illegal aliens committing felonies. They're in our prisons, and we have to do something about it, and the federal government won't. Therefore, the states must. And I believe what has happened in Arizona is going to start to happen in one state after the other. In fact, right now, a state senator in Texas wants to bring the Arizona law to Texas. Soon there will be a brave congressman in the state of, a brave state senator in California who will dare stand up to the illegal alien mobs and try to get this through, because the budget in California, no one even knows what the deficit is. It's $15 to $20 billion. Could be cleaned up in 1 year if the illegal aliens were forced to pay their way in our schools and our hospitals. That's the truth. That's the reality. Everybody knows it. But the illegitimi, frankly, are grinding us down with their lies. And remember that they own the media, but they don't own the savage nation. Just remember that. I'm an independent voice. I'm the son of an immigrant. God bless America.
Savage.